beatalegón.tv. Grupo de control. Con Bea Talegón y Carlos Sánchez.
Muy buenos días, muy buenas tardes, muy buenas noches a todos. Un grupo de control, navideño. Lo primero, felicitaros la Navidad a todos. Espero que paséis unos días fantásticos con vuestra familia y podáis, descansar un poco, los que tengáis unos días de descanso y, disfrutar de estas fechas tan especiales en compañía, de gente a la que queráis y que os deseo que seáis muy felices en estos días. Hoy vamos a hacer una entrevista a un amigo de la casa, a una persona con la que colaboro en el colectivo Brownston Institute, como sabéis, un periodista de raza, periodista que lleva muchos años, involucrado en todas las cuestiones que tienen que ver con la salud pública en Estados Unidos. Es un periodista de investigación que ahora vive en España, además, es el fundador de Disinformation Chronicle, que es una publicación que, si queréis enteraros de todos los entresijos relacionados con los conflictos de interés en el ámbito de la industria farmacéutica, pues es el lugar al que tenéis que acudir, porque realmente tiene unas piezas espectaculares ahí. Lleva mucho tiempo hablando sobre la corrupción en la ciencia, en la medicina. En el 2021 ganó un premio del periodismo británico, el British Journalism Award, por unas series de artículos que escribió en el British Medical Journal, investigando precisamente los conflictos de interés de los médicos, de los expertos médicos, ¿no? que dan consejos de salud en los Estados Unidos y en el Reino Unido para asesores del gobierno, ¿no? precisamente además durante la pandemia del COVID-19. ¿no? También escribió una pieza separada en el British Medical Journal hablando sobre los ensayos clínicos de la vacuna de Pfizer, todos los problemas que había ahí, ¿no? Todas las malas prácticas de la industria farmacéutica, de las que tanto hemos hablado también en nuestro grupo de control, ¿no? Lleva muchísimos años dentro de este contexto y cuando uno escribe sobre conflictos de interés en la industria farmacéutica, pues a veces se encuentra, sobre todo cuando uno es certero y tiene impacto, pues a veces se encuentra con que, miembros poderosos de la industria farmacéutica deciden denunciar, generalmente sin base, pero mientras te denuncian, pues pasas un mal rato. En esta casa lo sabemos porque hemos recibido alguna de estas denuncias, finalmente queda en nada, pero el tiempo en el que estás denunciado y tal, pues es un tiempo que lo pasas mal, ¿no? Y Paul, es un periodista de investigación y en ese sentido está bastante vulnerable, precisamente porque las leyes en España no protegen de momento de este tipo de demandas abusivas que se plantean no para ser ganadas, sino simplemente para hostigar, para conseguir el silencio de los periodistas. Estamos muy acostumbrados a esto. En el ámbito de la política se suele llamar lawfare a esto, en el ámbito del periodismo no se le llama lawfare, pero también es lawfare, porque al final lo que persiguen este tipo de querellas, es precisamente eso, hostigar, que uno pase miedo, que deje de escribir sobre ciertas cosas durante un cierto tiempo. Así que, nuestro invitado de hoy, que es Paul Thacker, nos va a explicar en el lío que le ha metido precisamente un representante de esta industria farmacéutica, ¿no? Que forma parte de un colectivo más grande, que este señor se llama Alex Verso, y forma parte de un colectivo de defensa, ¿no? de los intereses de la industria farmacéutica, ¿no? el famoso ACSH, ¿no? que es un colectivo que se llama American Council of Science and Health, digamos el Consejo de Ciencia y Salud americano, ¿no? O sea, un colectivo con mucho poder. Y como en Estados Unidos parece ser que sí que hay una protección a este tipo de querellas, pues el hombre ha decidido, dado que Paul Thacker está viviendo aquí en España, pues ha decidido demandarle aquí en España, ¿no? Donde no existe tal protección y, bueno, pues se puede ir a juicio prácticamente por cualquier cosa, ¿no? Vamos a hablar con Paul Tucker sobre esto, que está además iniciando una campaña de crowdfunding. Vamos a preguntarle sobre este asunto y cómo lo está llevando. Paul Tucker, how are you?
Hey, thanks for having me. Can you hear me? I thought my
Yes.
Okay.
No, I hear you perfectly.
For what we're talking about, I have a Give Send Go. So it's givesendgo.com, free speech legal defense. That's where you can go and give money. I'm raising money for this issue, for also just for my defense, for my lawyers' fees, but also because I'm going to start campaigning on this issue because we have serious problems across Europe.
Yes, I was just explaining that because the last European directive eventually is protecting the journalists from this kind of crazy lawsuits. But in Spain, we didn't apply this new directive yet, so that leaves you in a weak position somehow, right?
Right. So what's happened with me was, so I'm an American. You can tell from my accent, from the way I'm speaking. But I live in Madrid. I've been here for the last 10 years because my wife is Spanish, and I love living in Spain. But what I write about only in English. So my whole day is in English. So I am constantly reading English. Everything I write is in English. The subjects that I cover are in English. Like, I just know the bare outlines of what's going on in Spain, like what's happening here. And I don't want to write about it because my wife lives here and I don't want to do anything that's going to cause any problems for my wife. So I'm focusing everything on America. And I basically was covering a lawsuit happening 5,000, let's say 8,000 kilometers away in Washington State, an open court. And I was putting on X documents and just following the court, what was happening in the court, and in English, right? And then I was sued in Madrid, in a Madrid court, in Spanish, about these things that happened in a different court system, in a different language, and a totally different legal system. And it was a harassing lawsuit. In English, what we call these they're called SLAPP, SLAPP, and it stands for Strategic Lawsuit Against Public Participation. And these lawsuits are designed to shut you up, to scare you, to make you have to pay money so you'll just shut up and go away. And what happened in this situation was it was a SLAPP suit because I did nothing wrong. I followed all the rules, but I was forced to pay money to hire a lawyer to defend myself. The lawsuit itself was so crazy when it came. My lawyer called me, the person I hadn't hired him yet, but he starts walking. He's like, "Did you do this? Did you do this?" And I said, "Look, I've been a journalist for 25 years. I know I can teach people like how to, not defame people. I know what the standards are. I worked for a United States senator. I used to explain to the senator what to do so that he would not get sued. So like I've advised like high level officials in the United States about what they can and cannot do and say. I'm never going to defame someone. All I tweeted out was what was said in the court and the documents that came out in the court. And I didn't describe the documents. I just quoted from the documents. So my lawyer was very confused. He didn't understand what was going on. He's like, okay, well, I don't understand why you're being sued. So, he's just doing his due diligence, right? You're a lawyer. You have to what case am I taking? He then calls me back and he says, Paul, this lawsuit that you've been served, the lawyer is, and I said, yeah, I know. I looked him up. He's a real estate lawyer. Like this guy in America just needed someone with a law degree who speaks English that he could talk to on the phone to sue me because they're just throwing money to try to sue me, to shut me up. And this whole thing is designed to punish me.
Yeah, because this guy is still living in the U.S., right? He's not living in Spain. I mean, he's suing you because you live here, right? So he's trying to take advantage of this. Well, yeah, we were speaking about this kind of cases because as journalists, sometimes it happens that people just abuse of the jurisdictional system. But yeah, we don't have this kind of protection that you just said. But the real thing is that if you ask for a big amount of money for nothing. Judges don't like that. So if you go to court, what normally happens is that the judge condemns the plaintiff to pay the cost of the whole process. But in the meanwhile, you're suffering because this kind of lawsuits, the intention are just to shut you up, right?
Right.
To not having. So, but this is the second lawsuit in case it's presented. What was the first lawsuit about?
So I'll tell you the kind of long story. It's kind of interesting. So the group that Alex Barazal works for, it's called the American Council on Science and Health, and they're what's called a corporate front group. So a front group means a group that pretends to be a nonprofit that's doing public interest, but they're really there doing propaganda for corporations. Mm-hmm. And American Council on Science and Health is one of the most well-known ones in this area. They were started up in the late 70s. Right after they came out, the head communications for at the FDA. This was during the Carter administration. So this was back when President Carter, right? He told People magazine, he said, this group is a front group. They just represent the chemical industry. So that back in the 70s, we knew who they were. Then I found an old story in 1990 written by a guy named Howard Kurtz, who people in America might know him. He's on Fox News right now. He's getting ready to retire. Kurtz is probably coming close to 70 years old now, right? He started off as a journalist back in the 70s. Kurtz did a huge piece on them in the top magazine for journalists in America called Columbia Journalism Review that went into all the money they take from like McDonald's, Chevron, Frito potato chip companies and
Coca-Cola, right?
Coca-Cola. I mean, they Monsanto, it came out later. They take money from Monsanto.
Wow.
And he went into and how they just, any position they take is always like junk food isn't bad for you. Coca-Cola doesn't make you fat. Cigarette. I don't know if they said cigarettes aren't bad for you, but it's all these things that you just know that are just crazy. But they just say these things so they can get into the media and they'll be quoted as the other side in the story, right? Mm-hmm. Then it came out in 2012. A bunch of internal documents from ACSH leaked out to a left-wing magazine in the United States called Mother Jones. And Mother Jones published all this other money they were taking from all the pharmaceutical industry, like you name it, they were taking the money, to basically tell you everything's fine. And then it came out in a lawsuit just like 6 or 7 years ago, I want to say. And this was a lawsuit actually led by the guy who's now Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the lawsuit against Monsanto about glyphosate, Roundup. The herbicide that causes cancer. Yeah. And it came out that Monsanto was giving money to American Council on Science and Health. And there was this hilarious email that came public where they said, look, we know these guys aren't good, but we don't have a lot of friends. So even Monsanto was like, oh, I don't want to get next to these guys, but we need someone on our side. So, it's been known forever who they are. And I've written about them for the Washington Post, for the Progressive, for Vice, for other multiple outlets. And so what happened is I suddenly get an email about 2 years ago from a woman calling herself Anna Barazal. And she's telling me that she's the ex-wife of Alex Barazal, who is their vice president of, they give themselves these titles. I'm the vice president of whatever. It's this crazy process, right? So look, if you're a journalist, can I tell you someone that you want to get to know? The ex-wife or the ex-husband or the former colleague or the neighbor of someone. That's just wow. Oh, thank you. So she found me because she was looking online and saw my name. And so she contacted me and she said she was having child custody issues with Alex and she wanted me to be an expert witness. Yeah. And I was like, well, I don't do that. I'm a journalist, but I would like to talk to you. So I get her on the phone and we start talking and she's telling me that she's a native. She's from Poland. She went to the States for college and then she fled back to Europe with her daughter because Alex was mentally ill. and he's on all these medications and everything. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And then she said, oh, and also he was sexually attracted to our daughter. And I was like, oh, okay.
That's a crazy thing.
Yeah, that's a crazy thing. So I had, it's like, there's a couple of times when like sexual assault issues or something come up. Like I've had this happen before where someone calls me for one reason, it's about something else. I'm like, okay. Well, I don't deal with these kinds of stuff, but like, this is very interesting. Can you send me some documents? Because like, I don't call people up and just do an interview. Like, I mean, I write stories based on documents. Can you send me some of these documents that show all this stuff? I'm especially interested in the money that he's taking. So she sends me a bunch of documents. And I'm relate
it to conflict of interests.
Oh yeah, no, that's what I was really interested in, was the money.
Yes.
But I'm like, okay, let me see what's going on. So I go through the documents, and there's some, and what I realized from piecing the court documents together is this guy is on multiple psychotropic drugs like Zoloft and all these other drugs he's taken, right? Mm-hmm. Then he's also drinking while he's on all these drugs, right? And this was why while he was working to write crazy things about me, professors at Harvard, journalists at the New York Times and other media outlets, so I'm like, so then it dawned on me, like, wait, this is a story for me, because this guy is like getting on all these drugs and drinking while he's attacking us.
Yeah.
This is crazy. So I call her back and I say, hey, look, I confirm all this. And I said, well, like, what's going on with this lawsuit? And she says, well, it's a lawsuit. It's an open court in Washington State. I'm like, can I join? And she says, yes. So she sends me the Zoom invite. I show up in court. There I am, like on Zoom, watching the court proceedings, tweeting about the court proceedings, and also tweeting about the documents that I have. Okay.
Wow.
Which you're allowed to do. It's an open court. It wasn't just me that showed up, by the way. I tweeted out this court was happening. 2 other reporters showed up because this guy is that well known that like they were both 2 people he'd viciously attacked in the past, just saying that they lied, they made stuff up, right?
Yeah.
So they show up in court too. Then I would say within like about a week or 2, I start getting these emails from some guy saying he's a lawyer in Spain and I can't, tweet these things and I'm like, I don't know who this guy is. Like, it's like, I get emails all the time, people saying that there's somebody. I'm like, okay, whatever. Then I finally get a letter saying I represent Alex Barazal and blah, blah, blah. Well, here's the funny thing. By this time, I'm realizing that like, I'm bored of being in this courtroom. Like I have work I have to do, but now I'm being told I can't go. So now I'm mad. So now I'm going just because I've been told I can't go.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the crazy thing, right? I'm so mad because like I want to go back to doing work and I don't see where a story is here, but now I have to show up because I'm told I can't go and I have to like put my foot down and like, no, I have a right to show up. Yeah, I have a constitutional right as an American citizen to show up in an American court.
And also there is a journalistic interest, right? Because the guy represents some kind of interest and pressure groups. So I mean, it's interesting because it's your field of domain, right?
Right. Well, but now it's morphed into another issue. Now it's not just about him. It's about the fact that like I'm being told that I as a journalist cannot show up in court, which is crazy. So now I'm like, my whole focus has changed. Like, you can't tell me that I can't show up. We have a right. Like, this is like part of like how our legal system functions. We have open courts. Yes. So now I'm showing up, just to put my foot down. And what I would do is I would like go into the court. I had to turn my camera off and mute, and then I would just go out and do my work. And I wasn't even there, but like if they thought I was there, so that's what I'm doing the whole time, right? So then finally I get served a letter. Someone comes and they're trying to come to my door to get me to sign this. They're trying to, we call it processing in English, or serving you. You have to give them the document. You can't just mail it to someone. You have to hand it to them and they have to sign for it so that it's known legally that they received it. Yes. So I realize they're trying to process me and I'm like, what is going on? So I get this lawsuit and I read it. It's like all these pages and stuff. And I was supposed to pay 55,000 euros and take stuff down. I mean, how am I supposed to take stuff down that I wrote for the Washington Post? I don't own the Washington Post.
Exactly.
Just,
Yeah, maybe you could talk to Jeff Bezos to help you.
What am I supposed to do? And the whole thing had nothing to do with like, really, I think at the issue at hand, what really frightened him were these documents coming out that he never expected to happen, showing that he was sexually attracted to his own daughter.
Wow, that's a
This
crazy
came up.
thing.
It's just crazy. It came up in the court. Like the nanny, they had a statement from the nanny where she
Wow.
said that Alex like appeared very crazy and not normal, and that the wife had told her that he was sexually attracted to their infant daughter. In the court in Washington State, it came out that he was bottle feeding his infant daughter, 6 months old. And then he said that he got wet down there. And I was like, what does that mean? Like, that's either like, if there's something coming out of the end of your penis, that's either you ejaculated or there's like pre-cum and you're excited. Like, this came up in the court. This was discussed in the court.
Wow, that's disgusting.
No, I know. I mean, the judge even asked, he's like, wait, hold on. I thought getting wet down there, I thought that's what happened with women. It was like, and I'm listening to this, like in this court, and I'm like, what is going on? This is like out of a movie. You know, this is so crazy, right? So, yeah, so I get served this lawsuit and I've done nothing wrong. You know, my lawyer calls me up. He makes sure that, like, my lawyer is a smart lawyer. My lawyer teaches at Complutense. You know, he's you know, very well known in Spain. And he is also confused by the lawsuit. He doesn't understand what's going on. He calls me up one day and he says, Paul, this lawyer that Alex hired, he's like, yeah, I know. He's a real estate lawyer. Like, he just needed someone who speaks English that he can call, you know, and give money to harass me, you know?
Yeah.
So the lawsuit winds on. I go to court. It was, and what happened at the time was, like, in America, I know the process. I don't know how it works here in Spain. You know?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. My Spanish is not good enough to like defend myself in court the way I could in an American court. And also, I don't know what the legal process is. I know the legal process, plus I speak English, so I can handle myself in an American court. Here, the law is different, the language is different. So my lawyer tells me what to do. I just shut up. I listen to my lawyer because I've dealt with lawyers my entire professional career. And the one thing I know, what lawyers hate, is when they have a client and the client wants to do what they want to do. It makes lawyers crazy. So like, I told my lawyer, I said, look, trust me, I know what I'm doing. I'm not going to be that idiot client who doesn't listen to you. Whatever you tell me to do, I'm going to do it. And so I gave him all the information. I listened to him carefully. We go to court. Everything was fine. The lawsuit gets dismissed. The judge actually said that while he had accused me, Alex Berza had accused me of calling him a pedophile and a drug addict and an alcoholic, things I never said.
Yeah, because you just were quoting, right, what happened in court, and what happened in court is a crazy thing.
Yeah. So what I said was, I never said you're a drug addict. What I said is he's taking all this medication. I never said he's an alcoholic. What I said was he's taking all this medication and he's drinking. So they even tried to characterize what I said falsely, like, you know, in the lawsuit itself. The judge dismissed it, and she said, even if she accused me of these things that I hadn't said, and then she said, but even if he had called him a pedophile, it still doesn't meet the legal standard in Spain. I think, ¿cómo se llama? Calumnias.
Calumnias.
Calumnias, yeah.
Yeah, calumnias is when you accuse someone from committing a crime. That's calumnias, and injurias is when you say something just to make someone look bad, but in a bad way, let's say. No?
Right. So I didn't commit any. I didn't do nothing wrong. And then my lawyer tells me, he's like, okay, look, we won. Like, this is like, it's gonna happen. The decision came last Christmas. My lawyer was laughing at that part. He says, look, she said you could have called him a pedophile and it's fine. He was laughing about that on the phone, right? So then they appeal it, right? So you can do an appeal process here. And they filed the appeal screwed up. When you do an appeal, right, as a lawyer, what you're supposed to do is just file issues that happen in the technical process that were wrong. They just refiled their lawsuit again, the original complaint. Like, it just violated like the entire legal process, right? They filed the complaint again, said Paul Thacker did this and he's mad and crazy. That gets dismissed. Then they filed an appeal to the appeal, and then it was done in May.
So he's appealing. What we're speaking now is the
No. They appealed, that got dismissed. Then they appealed the appeal, that got dismissed. So it was all done in May. So
Yeah.
I was going to go, and my lawyer said, just wait until this process is done. Then we go public. We'll talk about this. But it was May, and like that was the summertime, and like I have summer school for my daughter. I'm traveling to the States to give talks. I'm like caught up in all these other things, and I got caught up in other things, so I didn't have a chance to talk about it,
Yeah.
and to write anything about what happened to me, how crazy it all was. And then like about by September, I thought, well, maybe the time has passed, whatever. And then I'm still caught up in doing work and everything. I had to travel to the States again for some other things. And then out of the blue, I opened the door one day, a couple of weeks ago. There's someone there with like a paper for me to sign for. And I open it up and it's like another complaint. I'm like, wait, hold on, this is crazy.
Is it a complaint for the same subject?
Same issue.
Same issue. There's nothing new, like something you said, nothing.
Well, no. Actually, the letter doesn't say what I did. It just warns me to not do anything. And I'm like, what have I done? Like, it doesn't even say like you wrote this or you said this or anything. It just, you cannot say anything bad or you will be. So I'm like, okay, this is crazy. So by this time I'm mad. I'm like, okay, fine. You've started all over again. You're picking the same fight. And my lawyer called me and he was talking to me about it. And I said, no, I'm just going to go public. And this needs to be spoken about because they're trying to start the whole process over again. And like, I'm allowed to say things. I'm allowed to be online and talk about what a terrible person this guy is. I'm allowed to talk about the fact that the American Council on Science and Health, which is a discredited, horrible institution, hired a guy, right, who was on multiple psychotropic drugs and drinking and is such a weirdo that he's sexually attracted to his own infant daughter, and they hired this guy. That he's their employee. That's insane.
Well, the thing is that he can't file a lawsuit with the same motives, which had been dismissed before. Right? That doesn't make any sense.
He can file the same complaint over and over again because the way it works in Spain is, we don't have protections here for journalists the way we do in the United States. So I'll give you an example. I never wrote anything about this, right? I just tweeted court documents because I was too busy working on other things, right? There's a reporter in Illinois, the state of Illinois, where Chicago is, who actually interviewed Ana Berrozel, Alex's ex-wife, and wrote about the lawsuit and talked about Alex Berrozel being sexually attracted to his daughter. Alex didn't sue him, right? There's also a woman who's a psychologist in the state of Louisiana who also wrote about this entire process. And Alex, showing sexual attraction and pedophilic behavior with his infant daughter. Alex didn't sue her. They both live in states that have protections called anti-SLAPP, okay? Yeah. They have protections against these types of lawsuits. What a SLAPP lawsuit is, it's SLAPP, and it stands for Strategic Lawsuit Against Public Participation. And what it means is you sue someone to scare them, to make them pay money to hire a lawyer, just to make them go away. And what you're suing them for has no merit, but you're doing it to shut them up. And so we have states in America who've passed laws to stop this. So like some of the most powerful ones are in the state of California, for instance, but Illinois has one. And so we don't have this in Spain. The EU has come up with new directives to tell the membership countries to pass these types of protections for journalists, and for not just for journalists, but for average people, right? Who just want to put something on Facebook, who want to put something on X and don't want to be sued for no reason, whether they're just telling like something had happened, right? But the problem that my lawyer has told me is that Spain is usually slow in adopting these EU directives. And then there's also underlying issues with Spanish politics, which you know better than I do. No,
but I mean, it has no possibility because you can't open the same process twice when it's been dismissed before. If there's nothing new, the judge is going to consider that there's nothing in there, so probably it will be condemned back because of fake suit. You know what I mean? So I mean, I think he's in a big trouble. But I think this illustrates pretty well what happens when you have like these lobbies and pressure groups, like with a lot of money. And the thing is, what you're saying about the SLAPP, the protection, in here in Spain doesn't happen, but it happens after. I mean, you know, they won't condemn you if you didn't do anything wrong in terms of law. But the thing, yeah, you can spend like 2-3 years waiting for a result to
Right.
happen. And what happens in the meanwhile? Because it makes you shut up, which is exactly what they're looking for. And
Right.
in that way, they win, right? Because
Right.
you're trying not to say anything about this, and yeah, that helps these people, especially when they're, well, you know, they're in this case is a personal case, but in other cases, what they win is like the silence in the media about their activities sometimes, right?
Right.
So, and
Right.
this is really bad.
Right. Yeah, no. So like what I did was I didn't talk about this or ACSH for like almost 2 years. I just didn't write anything. I didn't say anything. And you know, I was going to write something eventually, but like now I'm going to write about it because I just didn't realize this is how it works in Spain. The process was so crazy to me. I mean, this is really the craziness of it all. Like, and I was trying to express it to my lawyer. It's like, this is so crazy that like, basically I was online writing about a court case all the way in Washington State, 8,000 kilometers away, in English, in the American court legal system, right? With the requirements there. So I'm being careful that I don't violate any legal issues in America. And the process is sue me across the globe in Spanish in a completely different court system where I don't know what the rules are. You know, I mean, it's crazy, you know?
And especially because the guy is unknown in Spain. So
right, yeah,
I mean, if you see it from a Spanish jurisdictional system point of view, I mean, why is this important in Spain? It doesn't make any sense. It's just suing you because you live here.
It was. I mean, to me, I didn't want to say anything because, like, I mean, I had to have a translator there. But what I wanted to tell, it's not even a judge that's overseeing it. It's it's like something's below a judge. I don't know the whole process. How do you call this kind of person?
Secretario judicial, judiciary secretary.
Right. It's like the first step before you become a judge. Like there's multiple steps in the Spanish system. So my lawyer explained this to me. What I wanted to tell her was, I find it so crazy that I am here today in this courtroom, wasting your time, wasting the money of Spanish taxpayers, taking up all this nonsense about something that happened that doesn't concern anyone here in Spain. I mean, we wasted, I don't know how much money, like courtroom time and everything that took up of the Spanish legal system to deal with this. But like at a bare minimum, I think that Alex Berrocal should be required to pay this money back to the Spanish system.
The system works this way. If someone files a lawsuit and the lawsuit has nothing in there, so the secretary, the judiciary secretaries are what they intend is not to elevate this to court, specifically to avoid this kind of costs. But it's creating it's a smaller cost, but it is a cost, right? So the thing is, what happens if this case goes to court is probably if their claims are crazy and they're asking for a big amount of money, they will be condemned back in to pay the costs of the whole process. But for that, you have to wait like what, 2 years, 3 years.
Yeah,
so in the meanwhile, you're in a weak position as a journalist, right?
Right. Yeah. So the whole thing is just designed, I think, to scare and frighten people. And you know, for me, there were times I was like, because like, I mean, you gotta think about it, right? I mean, how comfortable would you feel? You're Spanish, right? And you're a Spanish attorney. Okay. Imagine something happens to you in America, in a different language, in a totally different legal system, right?
It scares you.
It scares you because you don't know what's going on.
It's the unknown.
That's what it was for me. And I'll give you another example. So like I have been through defamation process, right? Because this is about this whole issue is defamation.
Yes.
I have been through the defamation legal process, like sitting down with lawyers and discussing something before it goes public, multiple times in the United States with different publications. When I was an investigator in the United States Senate, so I'd have to sit down with the lawyers in the Senate to discuss something before we had an investigation go public, and the senator would talk about it. So I've been multiple times in America. I've been through it several times in the United Kingdom. Once when I wrote several stories for the British Medical Journal, it had to be legal to make sure we weren't defaming anyone. And then also with Daily Beast, when I wrote an article about an incident of rape that happened at Oxford. So I've been through this process in like 2 different countries, 2 different legal systems, and they're very different. And so now when you, and England scares me, by the way, England scares me. They terrify me. Like, I mean, I was just like going through the process. And when I first dealt with the process in the United Kingdom with the British Medical Journal, I thought the British Medical Journal has the dumbest lawyers I've ever met in my life. Because I've met some stupid lawyers, but these lawyers are so stupid. And then I went through it again with the Daily Beast. And what I realized, because it was crazy again the second time, I realized the underlying law for defamation in the UK is crazy. That's why the lawyers sound crazy, because they're dealing with a law.
It's crazy laws. Yes.
Yeah. So they're trying to explain something to you that is crazy. So they sound crazy, you know?
Yeah.
So like, I know that process. I feel very comfortable in America. So then when you come to Spain, I'm just like, I have no clue what's going on. My lawyer, like whatever, my lawyer is good. He knows what he's doing. I'm going to listen to this guy and I'm going to do whatever he says, you know?
Yeah, well, the thing is that you had to deal with 3 very different legal systems, because the Spanish system is based on the German system, which is more based on the law. The law is the main thing. But in England, when I studied this in the law school, I mean, they have what it's called the common law. So they're making up the laws, you know, in the process, which is a crazy thing. So that's what I mean. It's interesting because the law is something that is alive somehow, and the judges have a lot of power, like in the US. So in this way, there are different similar legal systems, but yeah, it's crazy. Look, Paul, I don't think you will have any problem. So first of all, I want you to just relax here, because I don't see any case in here.
Well,
so you won't probably receive any lawsuit in the end. But
this to me, this is now beyond like what's happening with me. I am very concerned that, like, first off, I think it's crazy this ever happened to me. Like, this entire process is crazy. I'm gonna be writing an essay about this for El País. I'm gonna be writing an essay for El País about this. I'm going to be writing about it for other countries too, because I want this to never happen again, like in Spain or anywhere else in Europe. I mean, one of the things my lawyer told me, which is very interesting, right? Because part of the problem that's going on is these laws about defamation were written before we had the internet, before we had other things going on. So think about this. What about if, right? Think about this. I live in Madrid, okay? And I'm writing about something happening in this court case in Washington State, right? But when I'm doing this, I'm on a plane, right, with Wi-Fi, and as we're moving, I tweet this out, and we're over Tunisia, for instance, in Africa. Where is the jurisdiction at this point?
Yeah, true.
Is it in Washington? Is it in Madrid where I live? Is it in Tunisia where I did the action? So we have these laws that are not written with current technology in mind and how these things are supposed to be dealt with. And so you can do what's called, you know, jurisdiction shopping, you know. So maybe what could happen is, you know, I mean, next time what could happen is I'm sued in England. Why am I sued in England? Because I tweeted it out and someone in England read my tweet. So
true. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's a crazy thing. But yeah, the thing is that in the other point, what is also scaring is thinking of having like a common law for the whole globe,
right?
You know, and who's going to rule this, right?
Right.
So it is a very, very difficult situation in terms of law, because in the end you can be unprotected in so many jurisdictional systems that this kind of crazy people like this Alex Verso guy, they could just like find the best jurisdictional system for him to lawsuit you wherever, because he just want you he just want to, I don't know, to push you, or you know, to silence you. So it could be
It's bullying.
Yes.
¿Cómo se dice bullying?
Bullying. Acoso.
Yeah. So like it just, you know, the other thing too that this fits in with this whole issue about attacking people with these crazy defamation laws. I mean, this is what's also happening, which I mean, I think for Americans, when they hear me talk about what happened, they're just like, what? They just don't even understand this process. They like, this is so crazy. But the other thing that's going on simultaneously, while we don't have protections in Europe with anti-SLAPP laws, right? We know what's happening at the country level and at the EU level with all of these crazy censorship laws that are coming online. The one coming out, the Data Safety Act in the UK, the new EU's directive about going against hate crime, against hate, whatever that means, whatever they want to call hate. So we have this process happening right now in Europe where this fits in with, where, basically we're seeing assaults on free speech that are coming from multiple levels. Just last week, a bunch of State Department officials from the United States were in Europe, and they were tweeting all about this crazy stuff happening. Like in Germany, there was a situation where a woman called some guy who was a rapist a pig, and she went to jail. He didn't go to jail, the rapist, but she did for calling him a pig, for like violating defamation laws. So we have this crazy stuff happening in Europe, like where there's just these attempts to try to shut people down, and at the government level, by either attacking them or not having good laws in place so that people can say what they want to say. And being able to, express yourself and say things within, boundaries of like not attacking whatever, like that's a fundamental process to democracy.
Yes.
Do we want to be a democracy in Europe?
Especially because all these hate speech processes, they built sort of a hierarchy in victims. So, for example, it's crazy because if you, for example, you say under the Spanish law now, the transsexual law, you can't say to someone that is dressed up like a woman with a beard, okay, you're a guy. You can't say that because that's hate speech. So you're not protecting for saying that, But so this new laws, the European media freedom law, and the LSD, the Digital Services Act.
Yes.
These two laws in combination, they create a crazy environment because the situation is that they allow governments to monitorize your activities in the internet, and to label you as a anti-globalist or a conspiracy theorist, and you don't have protection because of national security, which is a crazy thing as well. You can't write about what's going on in Russia, or you can't talk about things because it's national security. You can't speak about that.
So like I was supposed to be on a program yesterday about this very issue, where there are people who have been condemned here in Europe, in different countries in Europe, right? Because they're being told that they are Russian misinformation because they don't agree with what's happening with the war in Ukraine. The latest thing that has happened, right? So this killing of all the Jews that happened in the attack by these guys in Australia, when they attacked this Hanukkah celebration, right?
Yes.
I knew this was going to happen. And I have a friend who lives in Australia. He just wrote about it. And as soon as I saw this happen, I said, they're going to use this in Australia because they've been trying to shut people up forever. The government there is crazy. They're going to use this and say, aha, because of anti-Semitism, we need to shut people down based upon hate. Because what they did a lot in the UK was they would say, we have to shut you down because of child pornography. That's what they would always say. But they use that just to get in. And once they're in, because everyone agrees that child pornography is terrible.
Yeah,
so they use that as the pretext to get in and shut down you from saying a bunch of other things. And sure enough, over the weekend, the Australian government announced that they're going to do more to control people. And what it said in the New York Times is, we're going to control anti-Semitism, but also things where people said something that's legal, but almost illegal. So it's like, wait, you just said that you're going to monitor people for saying things that are legal. Like, that's the craziest thing ever, And this is all part of it. We're getting back into this whole censorship stuff, right? Because so I'm on a group with a bunch of people. Some of them are several former State Department officials, right? Mm-hmm. And this one pointed out that about this whole issue, about something that goes right up to the line of being legal. I'm like, well, if it's right up to the line of legal, we call that legal. Like, that's how it is. Like, you know, it's either illegal or it's illegal, or it's legal. It's not like you're getting so close to legal that I want to condemn you now. And this is what happened in censorship. During censorship, they had this thing called malinformation. So they had misinformation, which is when you say something that's wrong. Disinformation, where you say something purposely that's wrong, like you know it's wrong, and you say it anyway. And then they had this other crazy one called malinformation. You know what malinformation is?
Yeah, when you say things that could be right, but it can be no.
No. It's true. You said something that's true, but someone might use it in a way that they don't like. And it's like, it's either true or it's not true. Like, I don't care what you do with this thing. You know, like, it's like, you know, 2 + 2 = 4. Well, someone might say it's 5, so we don't want you to say that anymore. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah,
so,
it's
like,
crazy.
That's what's happening in Australia. They're going after you right now. They're thinking of having new laws to go after you if you say something that's true, but it's right up to the line of what's true. It's like, if it's right up to the line that's true or legal, it's legal. It's like, so like all these things are like constantly being used to like shut people down. And when it's happening on a global scale, and this is one part of it, these defamation attacks, which I didn't realize this until I mean, I've seen these crazy lawsuits that have happened in different European countries now, and I want it to end. So I'm going to keep talking about this. I don't care if he sues me or not. I want to move forward on this and make sure that, you know, Spain passes some kind of law. Let me ask you this. How do you feel as a, you know, because you are attorney, you're Spanish, you live in Spain. What do you think is the possibility of Spain coming out with some type of good law that has protections for people, like, so that something like this, like me, would have never happened? Because in America, I could have shut up on my own and just written how this is crazy, would have been dismissed. And if I had hired a lawyer, they would have paid my legal fees. What do you think is the possibility of something like that in Spain?
Well,
with this government, with
the
Pedro
thing
Sánchez.
is, the thing is, I mean, it's a really bad situation, because especially this has been an issue because, as you probably know, Pedro Sánchez is surrounded by a huge amount of corruption cases,
Right.
but he's been claiming during all this time that all this was disinformation.
Right.
You know, and he called it the la máquina del fango, the machine of mud. Okay, so, well, it's not a very good moment to consider the government to pass a law in this specific matter, because he's really, really concerned with this disinformation thing. And well, it's not a good moment. But the thing is that the situation is very different if you belong to a newspaper. For example, you probably know the case of the general attorney in Spain, right?
Right.
And well, there was a journalist from El País that was involved in the whole situation, because he was the person who published something that probably came from the attorney general. And well, all this thing is right now under the scope because of exactly what you said. But the thing is, the guy Miguel Ángel Campos is backed by El País, so someone is paying his legal cost. But what happens to independent journalists as you or as I am? Well, we are, let's say it clearly, we're fucked up because there's no one backing us. So we have to pay our legal costs. So we are extremely weak. The thing is, what is the position from the Spanish government? They label us as pseudo journalists.
Right.
So we won't be listed in journalist lists. So we won't have any legal protection in that way, you know. So right now is a really strange moment for that, because the government is under a great discredit because of the corruption that is involving the government, you know. Which is probably the case always, because all governments in Spain are surrounded by a huge amount of corruption. But
no. Here's how it works. Here's how it works in my country. It works in every country. There's a corrupt government. The new government comes in and says, "Oh, we need to end corruption." They come in, and then eventually the corruption starts to accrue around that government. And then someone else comes along, aha, we need to get them out. We need to get the corruption gone. I mean, think about it. Like, when I moved here 10 years ago, that's when Pepe was being pushed out, you know, because of all the corruption. Where I lived at the time in Chamberí, I could look out my balcony and I could see down at the end there was a park, and there was a park with a golf course in it, with a golf course driving range. And there was also like, it was the weirdest thing, and I didn't understand what was going on. There was also like in the middle of a park, like a steakhouse. And I was like, why do they need a steakhouse in the park? Like, I mean, there's places to eat all around. And then I found out it was because the guy who was on the Comunidad de Madrid had taken kickbacks, money, so that they could put that golf stuff in there. And that thing is gone now. That was a huge corruption thing at the time. A friend of mine worked for, oh God, what's the name of the wire service here in Spain?
The wire?
Why the like does like just
Como Canal Isabel II, the water.
No. Like Associated Press or Reuters. It's called a wire service that just prints stuff for all Spanish speaking.
I don't know.
I can't think of the name of it, but it's a media outlet that publishes stuff in Spanish that goes out all over the place, and you can take it if you need it wherever you are speaking Spanish. She wrote for them, and she told me that the guy who ended up going to jail for taking the money to put that golf driving range in the park, it's in the Canal Park down in Chamberí.
Yes.
She said he went to the jail that he had cut the ribbon for. He opened the jail and he went to his own jail because she covered it at the time. Yeah.
Oh, true.
You know, all that corruption that was happening in Pepe, where they were taking money at the time, you know?
Yeah.
Now we're seeing the same thing happen with PSOE. Yeah. And it's going to accumulate for a while, and then PSOE is going to be out, and Pepe is going to come back in, and they're going to be clean for a while, you know?
Yeah.
How it works.
For a year or so. For a year or so. Not even, because, well, yeah, it's probably the way the system works. In Spanish, we call it cultura del pelotazo. Pelotazo, how would I translate this? Pelotazo is when you get a big amount of money for almost nothing, no? Like,
right.
Like so cultura del pelotazo is, well, everyone wants to work once and win a lot of money and then just retire, you know? This is the Spanish culture of el pelotazo, we call it.
It's the way, well, I mean, like I was explaining to someone the other day, like I don't know the particulars, but Pedro Sanchez's wife that I think didn't go to college, but she has a college. She had a position at a university.
Yes.
And she never went to university.
Well, they've created the whole degree around her. You know? They've created the degree.
Yeah, right. And then what else was the other thing? And then I think, what was it? His brother or something who got some kind of grant to be a musician down somewhere. I can't remember where, and he was getting $3,000, but he lives in Portugal or something. It was like all this.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's surrounded by a lot of corruption. That case is a pity, because the guy is actually a good musician. You know, as you know, right. I'm a musician myself, and he's a good musician. But the thing is, he decided to take advantage of his brother's position, right?
Right.
So
right.
that is the case. But yeah.
And then we have the other one that I've seen in the media, Ayuso's brother got some COVID contract or something. It's
wow, the masks. But the thing is that's crazy with the masks cartel, let's call it.
Yeah.
The thing is, the public don't see the real source of corruption. It's like, no, the whole thing was wrong. Like mandating masks was wrong. That was has created the emergency situation in which they can just, do contracts under the emergency. So they are more flexible in terms of, legal protections, blah, blah, blah. So the whole thing was bad. It's not these 2 or 3 corrupt guys, the whole mask mandates were corrupt. That's what the public don't see it, no? So the message that it has been transmitting to public is, look, these 3 or 4 corrupt guys were taking money when we were doing the right thing by putting our masks on.
Right.
No, this is not the message.
Right.
Look, Paul, I don't think you will have any problem. I honestly feel it. But anyway, we'll be attentive. Yes, givesendgo.com, free speech defense. Please, guys, just in case you get the lawsuit, because I really don't think you will get any lawsuit. I mean, this is a crazy case, and you know, this guy is obviously taking advantage of your position. You're living in Spain, you're an independent journalist, no one is backing you in here, so no one is shutting you up. No one did in the past, and no one will in the future.
They did shut me up for a while. I did be quiet for a while, but now I'm not. Now I'm just going to keep going. I'm just like, I told my lawyer specifically, I told him, he said, well, Paul, they can sue you and it will cost you money. I said, that's just money I'm going to be paying you, because I'm not shutting up anymore. I'm just going to pay you the money. And he's like, okay.
Good. Go. So yeah, I'm optimistic as well. Paul, it's always a pleasure to speak with you.
Yes.
And you know, this is Grupo de Control is your house whenever you want to. This is your house. So I wish you the best.
Thank you so much for having me on.
And yeah, see you around.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Grupo de Control. Con Bea Talegón y Carlos Sánchez.